Hi, this is Michelle at Counseling and Recovery, and today I'm going to talk about codependency. So there's a lot of confusion about this topic because there's so much material out there, but a lot of people I find are really confused about whether or not they're codependent. So that's what I'm going to help you figure out right now. So first of all, there's so many different definitions, but here's mine. Codependency is really a relationship pattern where you're creating an imbalance of giving and taking, where the codependent does most of the giving, and you become unhealthily dependent on other people for your validation, for your love, for your self-esteem, versus looking inward for that. Now what happens is this could be with a partner, this could be with your child, a family member, a friend, even a person at work. So codependent relationships can happen with anybody. They're not just with addicts and alcoholics, which is where it started years ago when codependency first became popular. So if you're codependent, I'm going to talk about what the traits are, and I just want you to keep an open mind to see if any of these fit you. Because usually, if they're done in the extreme, they are codependent. But many of these traits are actually assets if they're done in moderation. So, for instance, if you're the one that everybody calls for help, you're their first call, that's lovely. But if you don't have any boundaries around that, it's going to get really problematic and you're going to wipe yourself out. If you're an over an achiever, then part of what that does is that you feel like you're super successful, which is great, but maybe you can't sit still and relax or take a day off or cut yourself any slack. You know, there's a perfectionistic tendency with codependency that can be really harmful because it stresses us out because we don't give ourselves a break. Now another one, and this is a really common one that most people know, is that they have trouble setting boundaries and saying no because they want to be liked and they want approval, and they're afraid that if they really set a boundary, people aren't going to like it. They have unusually high expectations of themselves and other people. You might attract people with a lot of problems like addicts and alcoholics, or people who just want to rescue, okay? And that can be detrimental to you as well. The codependent tends to want to control people, places, and things a lot, or outcomes, because that's how they stay safe. If they feel like they can control the environment they're in, they feel a lot better, because usually as kids, they come from an out-of-control environment, so they really want that control as an adult. Now, codependency does have to do with addiction, but not always. Really, if you grow up with a family with any kind of dysfunction, you can learn these codependent behaviors. So for instance, if your parent was depressed or anxious or didn't function really well for whatever reason, maybe there was some abuse or some trauma, or a caregiver wasn't emotionally available or even physically available. Those all set up these survival behaviors of codependency. So kids, what they do is they will become people pleasers to get approval and to avoid conflict and abuse. Or they also try to be perfect. These are the kids that get the great grades, but inside they're suffering. They look good on the outside, but they don't look good in the inside. Another common trait is that you're overly concerned about what other people feel about you. You think people are mad at you when maybe they're not, but you're so hyper vigilant about what they could be thinking about you that it causes you a lot of obsessive thinking. Another one is you give too much at your own expense. So in moderation, giving is a lovely trait, but if you do it too much without boundaries, it can really hurt you, and it causes a lot of resentment that ends up leaking out. So that's another part of codependency, is that if often they don't say what they really think, and they'll stuff a lot of negative emotion like anger because they're afraid people are going to get mad at them if they express it. So what happens is it leaks out in destructive ways like resentment or indirect comments or guilt tripping. Another one is you might have low self-esteem and feel bad about yourself, but the flip side could also be true, where you feel superior and you feel righteous, like, why aren't people doing it my way? I have the answers. Why aren't they just going along with the program? Well, that's a sign of codependency too, because healthy relationships and healthy self-esteem is about moderation. You're not better than, you're not less than, you're just enough. Hiding true feelings, that's a real sign of codependency, because again, it kind of goes along with people pleasing. If you're trying to please other people at the expense of yourself, or because you need their approval to feel okay, you're going to hide how you really feel when you get angry. You're not going to be able to do that. I hope this has been really helpful. Codependency is a huge issue in a relationship, but all I'm inviting you to do is just pick one or two traits that you know right now are hurting you, and see if there's a way you can do them in moderation so they're an asset, or see if you can start putting your needs first, because that's a huge goal in codependent recovery. I also have a guide on the 8 principles of codependency recovery and what it looks like. So I'm going to put that in the description below. So feel free to click on it and you can join my list and get lots of great free content. I do a lot on codependency and anger and relationship skills. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much. Bye.